What's going on, y'all? Today we got NBA analyst called lying about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant to help LeBron.
When it comes to basketball fans today, one word everyone loves is context. But like most good things, this word has been overused, misinterpreted, and twisted into something completely different. As in today's video, we're going to hear Fox Sports analyst Chris Broussard drop an abysmal take about LeBron James, as was Lakers, that includes some very selective context. And as you'll come to see, when he brings up Jordan, Steph Curry, and Kobe, those guys' contexts aren't nearly as in-depth as someone like LeBron James. So with that being said, let's roll our first clip.
One of the things you and I agree on, I believe, is looking at things and players in the proper context.
Sure.
Right? Both past players and present players, or teams and situations. And I think we have to look at LeBron and this season in context. Okay? Here's the context surrounding LeBron James that people don't seem to understand. He's 38.
I knew that.
Okay? 38 years old. He is in his 20th NBA season. He's battling nagging injuries himself. And his wingman, who's supposed to have taken the torch from him 2 or 3 years ago, is injury prone and not there. Can't even string together 3 straight weeks of basketball.
Now, stopping Broussard right there, the word of this video obviously is context. And in that clip, Broussard did provide a lot of context that was conveniently tilted in favor of LeBron James to excuse him from any criticism. In my personal view, this context really isn't context. It's more of a narrative built on selective facts that are picked and chosen to support LeBron James. And when it comes to the Lakers, their overall story the past 2 years is pretty simple. After getting bounced in the first round in 2021 by the Suns, Lakers management, as well as LeBron James, needed to shake up the system by getting another star, that being Russell Westbrook. And for LeBron personally, he had Westbrook out to his house, and before the season started, was bragging about recruiting Westbrook and pushing for the trade. This trade right here was responsible for all of LA's problems the last 2 seasons, and quite frankly, it was a self-inflicted wound by LeBron James on his own roster. And for Chris Broussard, like most LeBron James fans, will ignore this context and look at LeBron's stats instead and absolve him for not winning many games. And for me personally, when I see a player putting up 30 points per game, 25 points per game, on a losing team at a 13th seed or the 14th seed, that quite frankly does not impress me, as those stats largely are inflated, empty, and not leading to wins. I'm actually more impressed by a player putting up 25 points, playing great defense, and leading his team to a top 5 seed. And back in the day, 10 years ago, being an empty stats player and putting up empty calorie numbers, that was considered awful for an NBA superstar. But nowadays the media totally ignores winning and only focuses on stats and individual play. And going full circle with this point, when it comes to context, that's a two-way street. As for someone like Broussard, he quite literally wants to push aside the bad context in favor of LeBron James, once again showing how disingenuous the media will be about the Lakers in their past 2 seasons.
Right.
It's the
no one's come close.
Nobody in current or past. But now go ahead.
Like no one's come close.
Go ahead.
And here's the historical context. Michael Jordan. Nobody killed Michael Jordan or holds it against him that his last 2 years in Washington, they didn't make the playoffs.
Correct. Sub-5.
No one killed Kobe Bryant that in his last year in LA, they won 17 games and he shot 35%.
35%.
All right. No one killed Steph Curry that a couple of years ago, they finished as the A seed but lost in the play-in and didn't make the official playoffs. Right. All right. So why in the world would anyone kill LeBron James if in his 20th season he doesn't make the playoffs?
So stopping Broussard right there, once again, his
LeBron said he not missing the playoffs no more. That's one reason, you know what I'm saying? Another reason LeBron out here saying he the GOAT, you know, he make it hard for himself. I'm not gonna lie, LeBron make it hard for himself. He make it hard for himself, you know. Just saying dumb shit, just doing dumb shit, you know, things like that, bro.
It's completely off and tilted in one direction. And for Broussard, usually, he's a pretty smart NBA analyst and too dumb to make these arguments and comparisons. And to address his main question of why some fans are so critical of LeBron James at age 38, it's because LeBron James constantly puts his foot in his own mouth, making bold proclamations that is not lived
I just
up
said
to.
that.
As looking
I just
back at
said that.
2021,
Yes,
entering
it's
the
a fact.
playoffs, he was on record saying, "A storm is coming." What preceded was LA losing in 6 games, him quitting versus the Suns, walking up the court early.
This nigga don't got no, yo, bro. That's horrible, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that's a
The
bad
following
fit
year in
game.
2022,
No shirt under the
after getting
jean
Westbrook,
jacket is crazy.
Carmelo, Dwight Howard,
Yeah, I understand
he
you
had
rich,
Rondo,
but
and
chill,
the oldest
that's not
in
it.
the NBA, LeBron
That's not
James,
it.
went on record saying, quote, "Y'all better keep that same energy talking about my team, my roster, and their age." Well, as you could imagine, that quote
Just see me
totally
talking
blew in
too
his
much.
face with the Lakers missing the playoffs and being a dumpster fire and getting clowned in the process. Now, fast forward in the current year in 2023, once again LeBron James, quite possibly, is putting his foot in his own mouth. As around the All-Star break, he went on record saying the next 23 games are the most important games of his career.
Why would he
That's
say
not
that?
me saying that. That is LeBron James.
Like, why would you
himself.
say that, bro? What
Why
are you
he makes these
talking
statements,
about?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
But
me
most of
neither,
the times
Uncut.
in LA,
This guy
these
is,
statements
I don't know.
backfire and blow up in his face. And when a guy constantly puts pressure on himself, makes bold claims or promises, you gotta hold him to his word and keep him accountable. And for someone like Broussard, you can't get mad at me for holding LeBron James to his own standard. Now, looking at Broussard's second point, what he did was compare LeBron James to other legends who missed the playoffs later in their careers. And the first player he compared him to was Jordan on the Wizards. So this comparison by Broussard is totally disingenuous and lacks tons of context. As Jordan in Washington
Definitely.
didn't have a big three, a super team, a co-superstar, and wasn't playing for the biggest franchise in the NBA. And last but not least, Jordan in DC wasn't making crazy bold claims every single season and failing to deliver on them. Broussard ignoring that context, the teammate help, the overall roster, is totally disingenuous, as LA with the Big Three Lakers were the favorites to win the Western Conference but failed to make the playoffs, compared to Jordan's Wizards, who weren't a top 5 team to make the finals or win the finals. Now looking at Kobe, the second player Broussard compared to LeBron James, he once again provided no context. As Kobe at age 38 had numerous injuries, he had the Achilles, and his roster wasn't competing to win championships. And worst of all is Broussard's revisionist history, saying the media and fans weren't on Kobe for missing the playoffs and not playing up to par. As at that point, there were numerous articles, segments on ESPN talking about Kobe having the worst
remember
contract
that
ever
too.
and his
I
deal
remember that.
ruining the Lakers franchise. Yes, and in the end of 2016, the media finally gave Kobe his credit, and they weren't clowning him like they were all 2015 and 2014. Now, the last player Broussard brought up was indeed Steph Curry missing the playoffs in 2021. And what he tried to imply is that Steph, when he missed the playoffs, he wasn't clowned, critiqued, or criticized. That, once again, is revisionist history, as Steph at that point, from any non-Warriors fan or team, was mocked for missing the playoffs healthy. As for 2 straight years, his Warriors teams failed to make the postseason. And when it came to the NBA media, the old narrative that Steph needed Kevin Durant was revived for about 15 seconds. Chris Broussard, for Jordan, Kobe, and Steph, is completely off base. And in contrast to LeBron James, is comparing apples to oranges, ignoring teammate help, LeBron's claims, and revising history about the media as well as fans.
When LeBron James plays, for all their problems this year, the Lakers play as well as the Bucks. I'm just telling you what the plus minus is.
You think they're as good as the Bucks?
No, what I'm telling you is on the season, the Bucks plus minus is 6th best in basketball. That's what the Lakers are when LeBron plays. And then when he's off the court, it's worse than the Hornets, who have won 13 games this year, 17 games this year, something like that. They're bottom 5 in basketball. That is on the roster construction, and that is on the inability to field a competent supporting cast until the literal deadline to improve your team, and it might have put them too far behind the 8 ball.
So, stopping that clip right there, you have Nick Wright, the master of stat manipulation. As next segment, he brought up net rating with LeBron James compared to without. And Chris Broussard, to his credit, called out Nick Wright for his egregious and awful point, or lack thereof. Ask him straight up, do you think LA with LeBron James is as good as Milwaukee? Because the overall stats he had were indicating that was his belief. And Nick saying no to that question undercuts his stats, his points, his entire argument. As what his actual motive is separate LeBron James from his teammates and avoid him for being blamed for losing. That is the common LeBron James fan tactic, and especially Nick Wright's go-to. As when it comes to management, teammate help, the GM, these guys have zero hesitation to blame them for all the problems. But when it comes to LeBron James,
main GM,
he is
like I don't know.
Problem.
Yeah, Bron is the big GM in the building, man. I don't know why. You gotta know that, man.
When it comes to Nick Wright specifically,
Bron gets who
if
he
LeBron
wants.
James wins, makes the finals, wins the championship, that is a LeBron James accomplishment. But if LeBron loses, that is a team failure and not a LeBron failure. That is the overall picking and choosing of team stats and individual success. And just like Chris Broussard, Nick Wright is very, very selective for the context he uses and what fits his narrative and his larger overall goals. That right there is the overall.
But if you're trying to make a point, I just don't understand why would you I just don't understand why would you make a point for the other side if you're on one side. I just don't understand. If you're arguing for a side, you shouldn't make a point for the other side, even if you understand it. You know, you shouldn't do that. You're gonna lose a debate like that.
When it comes to context, you cannot ignore certain things that don't jive with your narrative. It's either take the whole thing or nothing at all. And unlike most channels, most analysts, I'm gonna give you the uncut truth of what actually happens and who's actually to blame for teams' failures. So with that being said, that is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.
That's the end of this one, y'all. Yeah, man, like I said, I don't understand why would you argue someone else's point, because this whole time Uncut was just arguing against LeBron. You know, you didn't make points to make LeBron look good, because that wasn't your position in this argument. Your point was to make LeBron look worse, or the analysts look worse. That's why I don't understand what you want them to say. You want them to be like I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say though, bro. Like, it doesn't make sense for them to argue for the other side. It doesn't make sense, because you did not argue for the other side neither, Uncut. Because it doesn't make sense. And I'm out of here, man. Because like, what? It's too much. It's too much. Click on the last reaction. Link in the descriptions. Turn on post notifications, and I'm out of here, man.